How's it guys, this is Dayvy FC and welcome back to the Euro 2020 fantasy video. Now I'm pretty sure all of you guys would have had a really good round of 16. Just joking, a major upset to the Netherlands and also to France. Completely wrecked our fantasy squads, but I still hope that you guys managed to come out of it not that badly affected. So hopefully some green arrows, some grey arrows, some small red arrows aren't the end of the world, and hopefully we can use these free transfers to completely shift our team to hopefully boost us up the ranks in these quarterfinals. But in this video, I'm going to take you guys through how I got on in the round of 16 in terms of rank updates, and then I'll be moving on to some talking points such as how many hits are fine to take in getting a full starting 11 for the quarterfinals, and then we're going to finally look at the fixtures and then the team update or the team selection. So that's something you're interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going over a quick little update how the round of 16 was for my own squad, it wasn't too great to be honest. I think we were about that 2k place mark, I think about 1,996 if I can remember correctly. So we did have a red arrow to that 6k mark. Not the end of the world, hopefully we can kind of boost this rank a little bit more, but we will be taking a couple of hits. So that's the spoiler alert there, is that hopefully the hits won't affect us too much in these quarterfinals and the rank doesn't become too red and it becomes a little bit of a green arrow hopefully. But going over 52 points and not much to talk about there. We did end up captaining Forsberg, missed out on the Benzema captain, which was quite a pain just because I wanted to be a little bit different maybe and go with Kylian Mbappe, and you guys know how that ended with him missing the final penalty. Luckily a penalty miss doesn't count in the penalty shootout and the scoring for fantasy ends at that extra time mark. Otherwise he would have been on negative points, I'm pretty sure. But not a great game from Kylian Mbappe at all. And then we did have the Netherlands side, which I did have a quadruple up of. So Stekelenburg, Dumfries, Van Alden, and then also Depay, and that was a really shock result there. I know they did have the red card to De Ligt, which probably affected them greatly, but after that red card, the shape was completely gone from the Netherlands side, and Czech Republic perfectly capitalized on it. And maybe a little bit expected after going down a man, but I'm pretty sure that Netherlands could have wrapped up that game, especially when Marlon had a one-on-one chance that he managed to get saved as well. So Depay was my favorite captaincy option, and then I thought Van Alden and Dumfries as well as Stekelenburg could have got some points, but that really came back to bite us, and now we have to sort out this mess with only 3 free transfers. So let me know in the comments down below how you guys are getting on. I've seen some absolutely massive scores, some really good green arrows, so not everyone was kind of affected as much as me in this round of 16. But now let's get on and talk about some better things and talk about the quarterfinals. So going over the main talking point probably of this video, and the question mark that's probably on your guys' mind, is how many hits should we be taking or should be allowed before the quarterfinals. So me personally, I have 9 players that I have to get rid of, and 3 transfers isn't going to kind of correct those 9 players, and I'm not willing to take that many hits. So my kind of rule of thumb here is that if you have to take hits to get a full starting 11, that is perfectly fine. I know there's going to be some of you guys that only have to take 1 hit, 2 hits, maybe there's more of you that have to take 3 or 4, but I think it's perfectly adequate to take hits until your side does have a full starting 11. I think that's my cutoff. I think as soon as you start taking hits to bring in substitutes, although I know that's probably the best thing about Euro Fantasy is that you can make substitutions and that hopefully guarantees you more points, I think you have to play on the odd side of things and just go with the full starting 11 and leave your bench as it is. If your full starting 11 gets 2 points, 3 points, 1 point, we saw some defenders getting 0 points, -1s even, but I think you have to go with the assumption that 2 points is probably the minimum that your players are going to return. So that's why I'm saying I would be fine with taking hits for his full starting 11, because then you can almost give yourself that half price almost thing of saying that a -4 hit for a player that's not playing is actually a -2. So that's kind of the thinking that I'm kind of going for, is that I would be fine with getting a starting 11 with hits no matter how much that is. We do also have some players like a Kevin De Bruyne, a Berardi, who might not even start, but I think we're going to leave those for as late as possible, and hopefully we get as much team news as possible going into that quarterfinal kind of deadline. We'll be getting the Spain versus Switzerland team sheet, so maybe you guys should prioritize those Spanish players in terms of your transfers, because at least we'll know if they start or not. But the question of how many hits are viable, hopefully I've answered that question for you guys. A full starting 11 is perfectly fine for me. If you guys do want to take more hits than that and you really think a player that you're going to bring in has the potential to do quite well, that's also perfectly fine. I mean, this is a game. If you're going to have fun taking hits, then by all means go for it. But my recommendation would be kind of stick to a starting 11, and anything more than that might be a little bit of a waste. Now going on to the fixtures, as I always like to do, and I've kind of introduced this right now, is I take the betting odds of the fixture, and that gives you guys a nice highlight of what fixtures you guys should be targeting. So as always, on the left hand side and the right hand side, we have the qualification odds for that specific team or nation going through, and then in the middle we have the delta, which compares them absolute value of the difference. And that kind of highlights the fixtures that we should be targeting, because the bigger the delta basically means the bigger the difference between the quality of these two sides, or the prediction that these two sides will go through, and that should be the game that we target, because the bigger the difference, hopefully the bigger the score of that specific nation. So as you can see on screen there, the best fixture to target is going to be England versus Ukraine, and I would completely agree with that. I think those English players should be the players that you guys are targeting with those free transfers, and I would recommend going with a triple up or quadruple up if you guys can afford it. The next fixture, Spain, Switzerland. So the Spanish players are heavily favorited here to beat a Swiss side that actually look quite good. But the thing you must remember is that Granit Xhaka, their man of the match, is going to be missing this fixture due to that yellow card suspension. So I do favor Spain. I think Spain will win this one, and that's why I think I would go for a couple of their options. And then we have the other two fixtures. The first one, Belgium, Italy. That's an avoid in my opinion. Not an avoid if you have the players. You shouldn't be taking those players out, but I would avoid bringing any of the Italian or the Belgian players in, because I think that game is too hard to call. The next fixture, Czech Republic, Denmark. I'm also favoring Denmark here, so if you want to fit one or two options from the Danish side, that's perfectly fine, but I think you have to prioritize English players and then have to go secondly on the Spanish options. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these stats. Comment down below if you are, and give me some suggestions or maybe stats that you would rather see, or stats in addition to this that you think might be quite useful. So finally, going over the team selection for the upcoming quarterfinals, basically what I've done is I've done a -8 hit. So yes, I'm going to be using 5 transfers to get a full starting 11, and I don't even have a starting 11, but I'll talk about those players that I am a little bit worried about. But the options that I did bring in are going to be the English options, and it's also going to be Mæhle from Denmark. I just favor him from an attacking and a defensive point of view, as I do expect Denmark to win, but I will also put in the fact there that I could afford a Stones from England as well. I just don't know about going with a quadruple up in that English side, and maybe put a little bit of Danish flavor here, as if you did watch the game, he was simply sensational and managed to score right at the end of the fixture with a lovely cut back in and hitting it on the left foot. So I really do favor these kind of transfers. Luke Shaw had an absolute stellar game against Germany with some assists and a clean sheet. So I think that English defense is rock solid, and against the Ukraine side, they're going to be really tired after that extra time victory against Sweden. I think that England could be in with a shout here for a clean sheet, and maybe even an attacking return from Luke Shaw. The other two options, Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, kind of picked himself. I was a little bit skeptical about Harry Kane, but I think because he's off the mark now against the Ukraine side that I'm expecting England to win, I do think he'll be on the score sheet again alongside Raheem Sterling, who's also been great in that English midfield and has basically scored every single goal except for one for that England side. The rest of the team, I'm just going to keep the options that I do have. That includes a quadruple up in the Italian side with Di Lorenzo, Spinazzola, Insigne, and Berardi. So Berardi is the option that I am kind of worried about. I think that Chiesa will actually start instead of him, because after coming off the bench, scored that goal for Italy, which basically put them through to the quarterfinals. So I think the options in the defense are fine. I think Di Lorenzo and Spinazzola will both start, because I think that in terms of Florenzi, he currently is still injured. So I think the Italian manager Mancini will still go with Di Lorenzo and Spinazzola. And then the attack, I mean, it is against Belgium. I think this game is going to be quite close, maybe quite a boring one, but I'm hoping that my Italian quadruple up comes out victorious. Otherwise, we'll have another headache and 5 free transfers to take them out in the semi-finals. The rest of the side also has some Spanish flavor. We've got Simon and Sarabia, and then also the transfer in is going to be Morata. So if you guys do follow me on Twitter, you'll basically see that I posted the captaincy stats, and Morata's stats are looking quite good. It's just kind of the finishing that he's been a little bit dodgy on, but after getting that goal in the round of 16, I'm pretty sure that he'll continue this good form against a Swiss side that did really well against France. But I just think that maybe 2 upsets in a row will be too much for them, and that's why I think Spain could do well. I mean, Simon just mustn't concede another OG. If you guys did watch the replay of that, it was simply outrageous what happened there. But I don't really know what the Spanish goalkeeper was thinking, but hopefully he's in good form against Switzerland and he isn't rotated. But Sarabia, Morata, from an attacking point of view, they look quite strong, and I do think they could do the work against the Swiss side that defensively haven't been the best. On the bench, not going to want to talk about the bench at all because they simply just here as placeholders, and I didn't want to take out options I mentioned in my kind of a roundup of how many hits to take. I'm not really interested in taking hits for a bench unless I do know that maybe Berardi is going to be benched. Then I might do a substitute, maybe bring in a John Stones for a Gozens and something like that. So I'll be monitoring the team news quite carefully as I go along this week, and hopefully we do get some leaked team sheets before those quarterfinals because they are only one day apart. So hopefully the team news is quite valuable at the end of the day. But this is basically a wrap of the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new and have not subscribed yet. As I mentioned, comment down below how you guys are getting on in this Euro Fantasy 2020 season, as well as what squad you're looking at if you are going to be wildcarding. That's something to note. I will be doing a wildcard draft tomorrow for those of you guys who are on the chip. Otherwise, I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.